Explain the general risk assessment. Identify all significant hazards and risks arising from or connected with the activity to be carried out. Identify all the persons at risk including employees, other workers and members of the public. Evaluate the adequacy and effectiveness of existing control measures. Identify other protective measures that may be required. Enable priorities to set. Identify 4 types of emergency procedure. Evacuation in case of fire. For accidents. For dangerous occurrences such as chemical spillage. For a security or intruder alert and in the event of an explosive device being discovered on site. Identify the control measures to reduce the risk to workers. The detection of underground services by using plans or cable, pipe detectors. Supporting the sides of the excavation by shoring or benching. Storing materials and spoil away from edge of the excavation. Providing means to prevent vehicles falling into the excavation such as stop blocks. Providing guardrails and barriers to prevent people falling into the excavation. Providing means of support for adjacent structures to prevent collapse. Providing safe means of access, egress into the excavation. Testing for noxious fumes and providing ventilation if necessary. Using pumps to protect against flooding. Taking precautions to safeguard the workers from biological hazards. Those caused by the presence of contaminated ground. Arranging for the excavation to be inspected at regular intervals by a competent person. Explain the difference between consulting and informing workers' issues. Consulting is a two-way process where the employer would involve, listen to and take on board the views and suggestions of their employees before decisions are taken. Informing is a one-way process where the employer would simply supply the information to their employees regarding such matters as hazards, risks and control measures. What are the key elements of risk assessment process? The first stage is to consider the activities that are being undertaken at the workplace and to identify the significant hazards involved. Second stage is to identify those exposed to the hazards such as operators, maintenance staff, cleaners and visitors, and noting in particular groups who might be especially at risk such as young or workers with disabilities. Third stage would involve an evaluation of the risks arising from the identified hazard, taking into account the likelihood and severity of the harm that could be caused, the frequency and duration of the exposure of the employees, the measures in existence to control the risks and the need and scope for a further reduction in risk by the introduction of additional controls. The fourth stage involves recording the significant findings of the assessment in a written and retrievable form. The final stage is concerned with a review and revision of the assessment at regular intervals, or more particularly if there are developments in the processes or activities or changes in legislation which indicate that the original assessment may no longer be valid. Explain the criteria of risk assessment. A risk assessment to be deemed suitable and sufficient should identify all significant hazards and risks arising from or connected with the activity to be carried out. Identify all the persons at risk including employees, other workers and members of the public. Evaluate the adequacy and effectiveness of existing control measures. Identify other protective measures that may be required. Enable priorities to be set. Be appropriate to the nature of the work. Be valid over a reasonable period of time. What are the 3 sections of a health and safety policy? Statement of intent, which both demonstrates management's commitment to health and safety and sets goals and objectives for the organization. Organization section, which allocates health and safety responsibilities within the company. Arrangements section, which sets out in detail the systems and procedures to implement the policy covering issues such as controlling hazards, monitoring compliance, and arrangements for consultation and communication with employees. Explain the general hierarchy control in the workplace. Eliminating the risks, by designing them out, changing the process or contracting the work out. Reducing the risks, substituting a hazardous substance for a less hazardous substance and reducing exposure time by job rotation. Isolation, using enclosures, barriers or worker segregation. Engineering controls, such as guarding, the provision of local exhaust ventilation systems, the use of reduced voltage systems or residual current devices. Provision of personal protective equipment, such as ear defenders or respiratory protective equipment. What is the fundamental reasons for promoting H&S standard? Moral. There is a need to provide a reasonable standard of care for all employees to reduce injuries, pain and suffering that may be caused to employees as a result of accidents or ill health. Social. There is a need to provide a safe place of work, safe plant, equipment, safe systems of work, a good standard of instruction, training, supervision and competent employees. Economic. Greater productivity and higher quality due to the high morale enjoyed by the workforce, the reduction in costs associated with accidents, investigations, reduction in the cost of employing/training replacement staff and repair/replacement equipment, a more positive image and reputation of the organization and lower insurance premiums can all add to the economic benefits gained as a result of good H&S standards in the workplace.
Please give comment and suggestions.
Thank you.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Thank for visit our channel. See you next class.
Thank you.